we're going to need a lot of logs. And we're going to start doing that this episode. But before we do that, let me welcome you back to another episode of the Tree Spirit Challenge. This is the second episode, and last episode we settled into the world, got ourselves a tree, a heart log, and we didn't do much. We just survived our first few nights within the world, settling into the challenge, and eventually we went up and got a sheep, or several sheep, which we then used their wool to make a bed. And that's basically where we left off. So for this episode, we're now going to start with some actual projects. And the first project is probably the most important project, which is creating a tree farm, because this challenge is all about logs. And if you don't have any logs, you're not going to get very far, because you're not going to be able to explore the world, which is why having a tree farm set up is extremely necessary. Basically having a place we can go to gather as many logs as we need to either go exploring within the world or building the projects that we want to build. Without logs, we can't do anything. So that's why we're going to be tackling that this episode. Okay, so we've jumped forward quite a bit. Don't worry, I'm going to go over what's happened, because as you can see, there's been quite a drastic change. I mean, first off, we're in a completely new area. You can't see our heart log, and that's because I wanted the tree farm to be in a separate area from our heart log. The heart log, I've got plans for the heart log later on in the series, or whenever it happens. I want to make that area much more secure and much more safe, because that is the heart of our tree, and if that block is destroyed, the challenge is over. So I want to make sure that will never happen. Having a tree farm close by, and where I'm going to be spending a lot of time, I don't want creepers or whatever to be coming near to the farm, because they're attracted to me, and then for them, I don't know, to blow up and damage the heart log, because as I just said, that would mean game over. As for connection though, all of these logs you see on screen right now for the area are actually all connected to the heart tree, so we are still connected to the heart log. So as for where this area is, it's not too far away from the heart log. It's actually only just across the river. When I was searching out for an area to plant our trees, I wanted a relatively flat area, because I want the tree farm to be flat. It just makes farming the trees easier if you're not climbing up and down hills. I mean, it doesn't have to be completely level. I could have done like multi-layered, but I wanted a flat area. I just think it looks nicer. Unfortunately, I didn't have the logs to build the entire thing in one go. So what I had to do is I had to grow trees as I went. So when they grew, I had to chop them down, and that allowed me to obviously have more logs to create a larger area. And with the area gaining in size, I could plant more trees, which led to me gaining more logs. I could add on to the area even more. And so as we went along, the rate in which the area grew in size increased. Now, as far as how big the area is going to be, I have no idea, because I don't want too large an area. I'm only planning on growing the huge variant of spruce trees within the farm, so we won't need too many, because I think each tree provides a stack and a half of logs. So if you think, if we have a few trees, that's a few stacks already. And if you're planting as you go, as soon as you chop down, by the time you get to the last tree, hopefully the first one would have grown again. So you can sort of just go round in a big circle, rather than having an absolutely massive area for tree farming. I don't think we need that. And I'm also wanting to grow the large variants. I think I just said that, didn't I? But one thing I have noticed with the large variants over the small variants is they don't give as much saplings as the smaller ones. I mean, a single tree does, but I think because each huge variant takes 4 saplings to grow, and because there's no real need to have a huge farm with dozens and dozens of trees, because I mean, it gets to the point where it's just inefficient to do so. You know, you might as well have a smaller, more compact farm that still does the job, rather than this huge area that's going to take a lot of logs to build. But the smaller trees, you see, because you have to grow more of them to get the same amount of logs, means there is more potential leaves for saplings to come from. So usually I've planted in the past tree farms with both the huge variants and the small variants, and I found that when I've had farms with the small variants, I've had chests upon chests of saplings, whereas with the huge variants I haven't had as many. I mean, it's nothing to worry about too much, because I have always come away with a net profit. And to be honest, as long as say I use up, I don't know, 30 saplings planting trees, as long as I come out with 31 saplings gotten back, I'm fine, because that's a net profit. I mean, breaking even wouldn't be too bad. So if I got 30 saplings back from 30 saplings planted, that's not the end of the world. You've just got to make sure you pick up every sapling. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to go for a net positive. If it looks like we're going to start reducing the amount of saplings saplings we have, if I start seeing a deduction in our total amount, then I will have to start growing the smaller tree variants, because of course if we ran out of saplings, the challenge would be over, because we wouldn't be able to get more logs, because we wouldn't be able to grow more trees. So saplings are just as important as the logs in this challenge. Also, you'll notice that I've placed all of the logs face up. It's personal preference. I think it looks a lot nicer than the outside. I know not everyone agrees. I've watched other people's videos when they've had their farms with the outside facing up. I just prefer the inside, but it can be kind of awkward because sometimes you don't have a block below or above to place the log onto, because in order to get the inside part of the log facing up, you have to obviously place it face down or onto a surface, or face up underneath a surface. And so if you haven't got a block directly underneath, you have to place a block there and then place the log on top. I mean, it's not the most inconvenient thing in the world, it's just extra time you could be spending placing logs. Alright, so it's only been a couple of minutes since last time. It's obvious to me that this area isn't nearly big enough yet. I've just done some laying out of where the trees are going to be, as you can see by the 2x2 holes, which represent the 4 saplings that will need to be placed in order to grow the huge variant of trees I'm wanting to grow. And I'm going with a 5 block space in between the trees is a nice, and I think that's a nice amount. I don't want them cramped together. I'd rather have a more spaced out tree farm. It feels more spacious, it feels less cramped, and I don't want the area to have a cramped feeling to it. So if that means half an hour of extra work to get a better final result, I'm going to put in the half an hour extra work to get that. And at the moment, with the layout that I'm going for, we only have space for 4 trees, and that's not going to be enough, because I am going to be doing a lot of harvesting off of camera, because if I did that on camera all the time, it would quickly get boring. So by the time I finished mining or harvesting the 4th tree, I doubt the first tree will grow again, because it will be too soon since I mined the first tree. But if I'm thinking, I don't know, 8 or 9 trees for our first farm, that should be good enough, because if I'm planting as soon as I've chopped them down, then by the time I harvest the last tree, I should be back onto the first tree, and I should be able to go round in a circuit. I'm thinking for 8 or 9 trees, that should produce around 10 or 11 stacks of logs for a single harvest, which is brilliant. Further down the line, I can see us increasing this number, but for now, this is more than enough. Also, I'd like a perimeter a few blocks out from the edge of the tree farm in all directions, because I like to place a fence around the outside to prevent mobs from getting inside, and if they're too close to the trees, then it's going to quickly become annoying when saplings I drop from the tree is going to land on the other side of the fence, and then I'm going to have to go out of the fence, put myself at risk to mobs, grab the saplings, and then go back inside the safety of the perimeter. I might as well just make the perimeter large enough that the saplings will drop inside the area. Also, I don't want the fences too close to the trees I'm harvesting, because if I have my back to the fence and the creeper creeps up, as they seem to do, then that's goodbye to the series as well. There's no reason to make our lives harder by making the area as small as it can be. I know I just talked about efficiency, but there's efficiency and then there's stupidity, and making it cramped for the sake of it being cramped is stupid. It's nice for us to have room to breathe. Okay, so we're now going to get to work increasing the size of this area. We're going to jump into a quick time lapse, and we will meet on the other side. See you in a few. Okay, we're back. Let's go over what we've just done to the area, because as you can clearly see, it's now increased in size, and we now have a few more trees. We have 9 trees to be exact. Well, no, we don't have 9 trees yet. We will have once they all grow, but we do have the space for a 9 tree capacity, and I'm happy with this amount of trees. Like I said, it's a nice size for what we are going to do during the beginning stages of the game. We're not going to be taking on mega builds or anything like that at the moment. We're just simply going to be going about gathering resources, creating farms, and doing what we need to do to set up for the mid to late game. But for the time being, this is more than acceptable, and to be honest, I don't think it will take too long to gather an entire chest's worth of heart tree logs. Maybe a couple of hours of work. I mean, we still do have stone tools, so it is going to be slower going than later on in the game, which was actually a bit of a plus about increasing the size of this area, because we had a lot of cobblestone to clear out, and that cobblestone is all going to go towards the stone tools I'm going to need during these beginning stages of the game, especially axes, because we're going to go through a lot of axes. I think I with 1 stone axe, I think I managed to get through about 1.5 trees. So what's that, about, I don't know, 6 axes per 9 trees, something like that. But we're not done just yet. As much as I like this area, we're going to have to make it a little bit larger. So if you can see the very outside block, if we was to place a fence there, there would only be 2 block width between the outside trees of the farm and that fence, which is not good. A 2 block width in between the trees and the edge of the perimeter is not enough. So I'm going to be increasing the area by, I don't know, 2 or 3 more blocks. I think 3 blocks would be nice. It would mean we have 5 blocks in between us and the fence from the edge of the trees. Plus, like I was saying before, we don't want saplings to fall outside the fence, because that's going to be a massive pain to have to keep going outside of the safety of the fences just to gather a few saplings, especially if we're not gathering as many saplings, because they all matter at the moment. Once I have a surplus of them, once I have a huge surplus of them, then collecting every sapling might not be as important. At the moment though, I don't have enough logs on me to do that. So we're going to have to farm some trees. Luckily, we now have an area dedicated to gathering logs. I mean, this is a bit of a pain. I was hoping we'd get the fences up before any visitors like these. Pillagers are the bane of my life. They're always visiting during these challenges, always. And it's always during these early stages, when you have no way of defending. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no armor, I have no shield, I have no fences. If they decide to start climbing up this tree, I'm done for. I mean, they're so annoying, and I have lost playthroughs because of them. I'm hoping they get stuck in some water somewhere. That would be really great. Ah, look. One of them did decide to come up this tree. Absolutely excellent. How amazing. Yeah, luckily though, he's stuck down a couple of blocks, so I'm gonna have to hit him off if I can. Yeah, take that. Whoa, yeah, boy. Hey, here we are at the finished version of the tree farm. What do you think? It's pretty nice, right? Yeah, I am massively happy with it. It's great to finally have an area dedicated to a task we're going to be spending a lot of time doing. It's just so nice just having an area that is organised and dedicated to it, rather than having trees all over the place. It's so much nicer. I can consistently gather enough logs for what we need to do, and I can do it safely without any worry for mobs. Don't have to worry about skeletons. I don't have to worry about pillagers anymore. Don't have to worry about creepers, zombies, anything. As long as I stay within the confines of these fences, I am completely safe, and that is really, really cool. The only thing that could get me is phantoms, but as long as we sleep every couple of days or so, it doesn't matter. Okay, but before we wrap up this episode, I'm just going to quickly go over what we have done. So first things, we cleared out another 3 blocks worth of space around the entire area. So as you can see, we now have 5 blocks of space in between the outside of the trees and the fence, which means we can't get hit by zombies or creepers or anything like that now from when we're mining trees and when we have our back to the fence. That's really nice. It did mean burning through a lot of shovels and a lot of pickaxes to clear the area out, but it was worth it. Like I said, the extra half an hour worth of work is worth it in the long run. And as soon as I put those logs in, the fence was going up. After the last pillager visit, I was kind of scared that they were going to come through again, and I didn't want that. I mean, there are still pillagers around, and another batch has come through since the previous batch you saw. They are so dangerous this early game, which is why I wanted to get a fence up as soon as possible. And then once I had the fence up, I felt kind of more secure, but not really, because there were blocks just on the other side of the fence that the mobs could walk on and then just walk over the fence into the area, and then I'd be trapped within the area with them, which would basically turn into a gladiator ring, and I was sure I would probably lose, which is why we then had to mine out perimeter from the edge of the fence. I went with 4 blocks, and so it's just for that reason, just so mobs can't climb up to these or onto these blocks and then over the fence. I want them to be able to be stuck on the other side of the fence and have no way of reaching me. It's just another level of safety, and I can put my mind at ease, so when things like pillagers and creepers and all sorts do come through, I don't have to worry about them coming over. I think Enderman actually could probably get through, so Enderman and Phantoms, so that's 2 mobs. But I don't have to worry about Endermans too much, because as long as you don't make eye contact with them, it's fine. Just got to show them that level of respect they deserve. And then of course I lit the area up, and that's just making sure that mobs don't spawn inside. So that's basically what we've done, and I'm really happy with how things have gone. This is going to be a key area moving forward, and it should suit our needs for what we've got planned. So as for next episode, it's a bit of a toss-up between finding a village or fixing our food situation. I think the bigger priority for me, it's going to be finding a village. I want to locate where a village is at, because the sooner we can get village breeding underway, the better for us. They have so many resources I want to have access to, and I really don't want to go caving at the moment. So if we can have access to diamond tools and diamond armor through villagers, plus killing iron golems for iron, then, you know, that's going to be massive. But our food situation is really bad. Like, I have hardly any food, and if I have no way of replenishing hunger, I'm also going to die. So we'll see. At the moment it's villagers, but we'll see. If next episode I'm doing food, don't be surprised. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Lord, let me get my cash right. I'm trying to fly, still tired from last night. Putting that work in to all of my earthlings. When them haters acting up, gotta give them that act right. Back up on the scene with some flame shit. Different cause